That's why you're kinda like my favorite follower.
I am? You're making me blush.
And that's why I think you deserve a nice big kiss.
A kiss on the cheek?
No, silly. Not one of those. Mwah.
Hi there everyone, Lars back with another Writer's Rant, brought to you by Camille's Harem. Not just a podcast for novice writers by novice writers, but also a YouTube channel by novice writers for novice writers, because writing is an adventure, it's more fun with friends, and today is going to be an exuberant rant about how freaking good the last episode of Villainous was. And I know I'm really late on the ball for this one right here. A lot of people were talking about this a few years back, but I just gotta bring this up again, because if you haven't seen this, if you've forgotten it, oh boy, Villainous is a fantastic show, and its last episode hit so hard. And for this month of February, where I'm looking at what we can learn by toxic relationships being represented in various ways in fiction, this right here is maybe one of the most powerful episodes in regards to that topic. Because here in this episode, we have the poor Dr. Flug, who ends up being really the true hero of this entire series. Despite being an ardent villain, he goes up against his old-time crush. And oh boy, the emotional journey that we go on in such a short amount of time is incredible. So for those of you who haven't seen anything about Villainous, in a brief, very small nutshell, this is a story about one Mr. Black Hat, who runs this corporation that is meant to empower other villains out there in order for them to crush the heroes who stand there, who oppose them. And this guy is just fun, wicked, evil. He is honestly one of the best representations of an OP villain out there. But really, the story revolves around his henchmen, Dr. Flug, Dementia, and 505. Each episode covers a different misadventure for the poor people helping Black Hat in his evil ways, particularly Dr. Flug, who's usually on the receiving end of any sort of irritation or anger from Black Hat, which is basically his standing mood. However, in this episode, things really take a dramatic shift. We quickly step away from Black Hat and we focus instead on what is happening with Dr. Flug. What is his backstory? And this happens with him meeting his old academy crush, who is now going by the name of Mrs. Heed. Once the lovable, adorable Cecilia from the Villainous Academy, Mrs. Heed stole one of Dr. Flug's special serums, one that would allow her to influence how people thought, how they felt, and she has manipulated this formula in order to create a very devious kind of potion or perfume that allows her with a simple kiss to completely throw people under her spell. She mind controls them through their love, through their adoration, and by so doing, she has taken over an entire city. Villains, heroes, the general populace are all now her mindless slaves. One of the villains from this city has unwittingly brought Dr. Flug, Dementia, and 505 to the city so that way Miss Heed can jump them all and specifically convert Flug into one of her slaves. This is because she needs his brilliant mind to make this formula go places where it really needs to go. She wishes to help Dr. Flug's arch nemesis, Goldheart, who has a big plan in mind. He wishes to wipe out all of the villains seemingly in one disastrous stroke. But in order to make that happen, he is going to need a lot of help. And because Miss Heed has a massive crush on Goldheart, well, she feels that the best way to get into his good graces is to turn Flug into one of her brainwashed servants, use his brilliant mind to make the formula the best it can be, and then present a loyal army to Goldheart, as well as a bunch of villains that she has turned into these loving zombies with this powerful formula. Dr. Flug falls under her spell despite his best attempts. And this is one moment where, Flug really flips the script. We've always seen him as this cowering wimp, and yet in this moment where he faces off against Heed, he goes all out, taking on heroes and villains single-handedly until he is just barely defeated. Dementia and 505 barely managed to escape, which is going to be important for later on because they help bust him out. However, even though Flug has been completely taken over by the formula, we see indeed where the mistake is in, because he's not a totally loyal zombie to Miss Heed, because all it takes is for a memory to be jarred in his mind of, wait a second, she rejected me, to completely snap him out of the mind wash. And so Flug is now on the inside, supposedly helping Miss Heed to perfect her formula to build up this great army for Goldheart, so that way he will notice her. And this is then when he reunites with Dimension 505, and Dementia has stolen Mrs. Heed's special live stream camera, this cute little robot, so that way she can expose Miss Heed for the charlatan that she truly is, for the villain that she is, to the entire city in hopes of turning them all on her. The climax to this episode appears when Miss Heed takes Flug into the factory where she's making all of this potion to be used for her special mind-washing perfume, and she gives him a kiss. Now, throughout the entire episode thus far, she has kept a lot of distance between herself and all of her adoring zombie fans. And when she goes in to give Flug a kiss, Flug's like, oh, you just mean you're going to give me one of those little airy kisses. However, she's like, no, I'm giving you a real kiss, and moves up the paper bag that he has over his head and actually gives him a big one right there on the lips, which Dementia all captures on the live stream, broadcasting to the entire city, and all of the heroes and villains turn on Miss Heed in an instant. She flies into a rage. She shoves Flug right off of the catwalk into one of the vats. Dementia comes in, swings in, rescues him, and in the same movement hits Mrs. Heed, and she falls into the mix. And I think it's really telling that all of the heart shapes that she has breaks when this happens. All of the love that she has had thus far is broken, and when the heroes and the villains come together to get her, doesn't matter what she does, they are broken from her spell, and she is locked away into a seriously intense special facility where she cannot bust out of. The episode ends with Dr. Flug breaking in to visit her, and he is just all business, where he says, I need to know what Goldheart is planning. You were working together with him. And she just says, you're not going to be able to beat him. And she's like, I need you though, Flugy. I need you. I need your love. And he's like, no, you need to love yourself, Cecilia. And when she hears her name, it just absolutely breaks her. She's like, no, I miss Heed. Love me. And he just leaves. And it is such a freaking powerful moment. It gives me goosebumps each time I watch it because it's so well done. Now then, what can we learn from this season finale of Villainous? What is really going on here with a toxic relationship? Let's dive a little bit into this and see why this is actually a brilliant representation of a bad relationship, a bad romance within fiction. Rather than being glorified and set up onto this beautiful pedestal saying that is what everyone should aim for, this episode says, no, absolutely not. So let's have a look at Miss Heed. What's going on here with her? Well, she was once this adorable geek who had a good relationship, at least with Flug. It seems as though she didn't exactly fit in at the academy. She had big plans and everything, and I think that there was genuinely a great relationship between her and Flug while it lasted. Yes, even though she stole from him, there are feelings there, which is why she gives him a genuine kiss up on the catwalk. There are old feelings there, and all of that, unfortunately, was betrayed when she stole his formula to go chase her dream of winning over Goldheart. And this is where things actually begin getting really interesting and very mature, because we can really dive deep into this and see some brilliant writing right here. First off, one of the things a lot of people saw, and this is very much on the surface, is how she is the embodiment of a streamer, how she presents herself as this sexy beauty that everyone just absolutely loves, and she wants their adoration. She always talks sweetly to them, but she always keeps everyone at a distance. Whatever relationship you think that you have with her, it is one-sided. All she wants from you is your attention and the power that she can get from controlling you. This is a very toxic relationship, and unfortunately very realistic to the kinds of relationships that a lot of creators, especially a lot of streamers, have with their audiences. But then it gets even more intense right here, because we know that Miss Heed has a thing for Goldheart. But as we see, Goldheart doesn't really seem to care anything about her, despite all of the power that she has. She has an entire city at her beck and call. She has this powerful formula, which could very easily help him out in his great grandiose plans of ridding the world of villains. And yet he just doesn't seem to care. But she wants him. He's the beautiful hunk. She's everything that she could possibly want. But because she can't have him, she then goes for Dr. Flug. Now then, with Dr. Flug, yes, she needs him for his brilliant mind in order to perfect the formula and complete her part of Goldheart's plan. However, more so than that, even more devious really, is that she knows that Flug has, or at least had, feelings for her, and that if she can't have a romantic relationship with Goldheart, and she cannot have a romantic relationship with any of her followers because that would break the spell that they're under, she can at least have him. This is something that I like to call the back pocket boy, or specifically the back pocket girl, because I've seen this happen, unfortunately, more often with girls, where someone that they like knows that they like them, but they are interested in someone else. However, it's really great having this other person around who likes them, kind of friends with benefits, or maybe it's just, they just like having someone around who they know has romantic feelings for them, but they're just not interested in them. So they'll keep that poor person around, basically like a card in the back pocket. For, well, if I can't get together with the person that I'm really interested in, then I can pull them out, have my sweet time with them, and then when I'm done with them, I put them back into the back pocket and I can go after someone else who I'm actually interested in. This is something that I see a lot in high school, but especially in college. I saw this all the time in college, and it's not okay. This is not okay. This is not an okay relationship at all. And that's basically what Miss Heed is doing here with Dr. Flug. He is the back pocket guy because she knows that he once had feelings for her. Maybe he even still has feelings for her. And yay, romance, touch, love. These are things that Miss Heed actually wants. She wants to have a real bona fide relationship with someone. She wants it with Goldheart, but if she can't have Goldheart, Dr. Flug will do until she gets Goldheart's attention and can be in a relationship with him. And that makes the showdown on the catwalk, and then especially in the prison hold, very, very emotional and extremely heavy, because the emotions there are real. They're real for Dr. Flug, they're real for Mrs. Heed, but they are warped and twisted, especially for her, because she is someone who has kept everyone else at bay for so long because she's just been chasing her ideal, rather than exploring options with other people and possibly letting herself fall in love with someone else. It doesn't even have to be with Dr. Flug, it could have been with anyone else, but instead she craved power, she craved a relationship that she could be in control of. She has acted incredibly toxic towards anyone who has ever cared about her, and the love that she wishes to have with Dr. Flug is only really out of convenience. And what this means for her is that at the very end of the episode, as she's crying and wailing for Flug to love her, it's because she is now at a point where there's no one anymore who's out there looking for her, loving her. All of that affection that she'd been getting from all of her mindless slaves, it was false, but it was a great substitute to have. And then having Flug when she couldn't have Goldheart, well, that's even better, actually. But what she wants is she wants Goldheart. Well, they're in a prison, branded as a villain. Goldheart's never going to love her. He's never going to come for her. And I think she honestly knows that, but she's so deluded that she believes that it will happen. But deep down, she fears and she knows that that will never be the case. And she is distraught at the fact that she lost Dr. Flug, the one person who did at one point genuinely love her. That's gone. And all of her followers are gone as well, leaving her so alone in that prison. And everything about that entire scene captures that moment beautifully. And when we look at Flug, it's clear that he's absolutely heartbroken, because you know what, like bittersweet memories of teenage love So many of us have that. And that's something that's there in the past. If it comes out into our present, it's awkward, it's strange, you don't really know exactly what you're going to do with it. And I've had that happen before, where high school crushes suddenly walk back into your adult life. If even just for a moment you're like, what do I exactly do in this situation? We've grown up, we've moved on, but we know that there's a little bit of history right there, and you can be very mature about it, or you can be extremely immature about it, which is not the route that you should go. And so for Dr. Flug, he's stuck in a really awkward situation right here, made all the worse by the fact that a girl that he once liked not only stole from him, but used his formula against him to brainwash him, and that what broke him out of the brainwash was the memory of how she betrayed him and broke his heart, and then once again, she uses him and breaks his heart. The feelings there were real, if not twisted tremendously, but those feelings were there, and she once again broke his heart, because in that moment, in that desperate moment where suddenly everyone's spell starts getting broken, they suddenly realize that she doesn't really like them, and the formula ceases to work, rather than actually like running away with Dr. Flug, because hey, at least she's now with someone who likes her, presumptively. She gives up on that. She turns immediately on him and begins raging about what she can't have. And for a guy who at one point liked her, to hear that, to see that, is a complete rejection of him. So as a result, Dr. Flug is very rightfully so dejected by what he has just experienced. But work must be done, and so he forces himself to meet with Mrs. He, to meet with Cecilia, and as her friend. No longer as someone I think who actually liked her in any sort of romantic way, but as someone who once was her friend, someone who has positive memories of her back when she was someone else. He says very realistically, very upfront, and in such a beautiful, poignant way, you need to love yourself. Goodbye, Cecilia, because I can't love you for you. You must love yourself. And that's a powerful message. And that's why I think that this episode just hits so dang hard and so well, because it's an episode that exposes so many nasty aspects of a twisted, toxic relationship, and the different shades in which that can come in, from streamer to follower, from past crushes to friends, from the back pocket guy or girl, even from the side of the person who is looking up to someone else. They want a better relationship and completely ignores what they could have and what they could enjoy in the moment. This is an episode where you can sit down and you can talk about the psychology for so long. And in this video is already going on pretty long, and honestly, we can still dive deeper. So what I'll say is this: do yourself a favor, if you haven't already, watch Villainous. Especially watch this episode, because it is incredible. And as authors, what can we take away from this? I think one of the biggest lessons that we can learn as writers when it comes to tackling toxic relationships is to understand the various shades in which it comes in. That abuse doesn't just come with the flying of fists or or loud cursing to someone's face. It comes in the form of manipulation. It comes in the form of betrayal. It comes in the form of neglect. It comes in the form of purposeful distance. All of these things that don't allow the people within the relationship to truly get to know each other, to truly have moments to build each other up, to share, and to show that they actually care. Because where distance, manipulation, purposeful neglect, all of those things come into play, you can't have those healthy aspects of a relationship. Toxicity comes in many shades, and this episode shows us a wide palette of what a toxic relationship, what a toxic romance really looks like. So that's my analysis for the season finale of Villainous. That's my breakdown of Miss Heed and her relationships with all these other characters. And if you've seen this, if you have a different opinion or a different insight, I would love to hear about it from you. Please sound off in the comments, because again, this is an episode that we can dive so deep into, and I want to have that conversation. And I'm going to be talking about more toxic relationships in future videos for the month of February. That is my goal. That is my focus focus for this particular month, as well as some of the other stuff that we do here. I'll still be doing other reviews and analyses for various anime and the likes as they are premiering throughout this winter season. So if you haven't yet subscribed, make sure that you're subscribed and you've clicked the bell notification to be notified for all of those various videos, because it is going to be great. And if you'd especially like to support what we do here on our channel, then please check out the books that we have published. Links for them are in the description below. But until the next video, y'all, watch out for the Mrs. Heeds of the world, and choose.
You need to love yourself first. I wish you good luck, Cecilia.
No! It's Missy! Do you hear me? Oh